And I've met people from the far end of West Cork who drove all day on that Wednesday from early morning to get to Santry to see the race and drove back through the night to West Cork. Well, that wouldn't happen today. They'd sit at home pressing buttons looking at it on television, you know, and it was just a magic time.
Last month marked the 60th anniversary of a record-breaking race in Morton Stadium, Santry. On August 6, 1958, athletes including Ronnie Delany, Australia's Herb Elliott and Albie Thomas ran a 1 mile race. The first 4 finishers all broke the world record at the time, and was the first time ever that the first 5 finishers finished in under 4 minutes. Also included in the race was 19-year-old Carlow man Dan Carbery, who remembers how the race was promoted by Dubliner Billy Morton, after whom the stadium is now named.
And Billy was like a real showman, promoter, and got the best runners he could get a hold of over to Lansdowne Road to run and over to College Park. But he was all the time looking to set up a proper track. And grass was the surface we ran on, but there was a stadium down in Shelbourne Stadium that was a cinder track, but I ran on that too. But he got land out around Santry and built a stadium out there in probably May of 1958. He had the first meeting held there, and then it led on to July of that year. The Empire Games was being held in Cardiff, which is now called the Commonwealth Games, and the Australian team and New Zealand teams were over, and that Billy went over to London and persuaded them to come over to Santry in July to have a warm-up meeting before the Cardiff for the Empire Games. Then after the Empire Games, they came back on the 6th and 7th of August in 58 to Santry again, and then that was the night on the 6th, which was my 19th birthday, because I was born on the 6th of August, that I was privileged to be invited to run in the Invitation Mile. And that was the huge race that they talk still about.
The Australian Herb Elliott won the race, running it in 3 minutes 54.5 seconds. He was followed by fellow Australian Merv Lincoln in second, Olympic champion Ronnie Delany in third, New Zealander Murray Halberg in fourth, and Australian Albie Thomas in fifth place, 4 seconds behind the winner.
And it meant that for the first time ever, 5 runners were inside 4 minutes for the mile, and of course they still talk about it. There's a lot of talk that Dan Carbery paced them and that, but Dan Carbery didn't do any pacing that night. They took off so fast that I was chasing after them, but they tell stories about I dragged them to a world record. It's far from the truth, but sure, if they want to pretend that, they can, but it's not the truth. The meeting was run by Crusaders Athletic Club and Clonliffe Harriers Athletic Club. Now I was, apart from Delany, I was the number 1 miler in the athletic club in Crusaders, and Delany was being invited because he was the Olympic champion, and he was going to get invited anyway because there'd be no point in having it if Delany wasn't in it. But I was running there, and Michael Hoy of Clonliffe Harriers, who I'd run with on the Irish team 2 years, 1 year previously, we'd run in Lansdowne Road in the student games, 1500 metres, and we were invited as the club runners for that to make up the field. But they had on the line that night was the greatest probably mile field ever assembled at that point. But Billy Morton said to me, "Carbery, get out in the back field and warm up." I said, "If you want me to run in this race, I'm warming up with the rest of them, Delany and the whole lot of them. You're always the same, Carbery, you won't do what you're told." But we warmed up on the same track, and we lined up together and packed out, as the photographs will show you, just packed out. People couldn't get near the stadium that night, as they recorded later on in recording about the race. People abandoned their cars and just walked to get there. I think some of the athletes competing had to get out of the cars and run to the stadium. You couldn't get near it. Unfortunately, today you wouldn't get more than a few thousand at a top meeting in Santry Stadium, but now it's the professional era, so different times.